Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Whatcha Watching right here on the Hollywood Critics Association YouTube channel, Twitter page, and Facebook page. The show's back. We wanted to take a couple weeks off to kind of embrace the movement that's going on right now with Black Lives Matter. We think it's very important. Defund the police, all the stuff that's going on right now, very, very important to all of us in this organization. And we wanted to kind of go dark for a couple of weeks to let that stuff happen and kind of highlight that stuff because we feel like it's more important. But we're back, and we're back every Wednesday, 6 o'clock. And we have our first of many new shows to come. And what a wonderful panel to be back with. We are going to have the wonderful Jana Nagase right here.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having me back here again.
And then we have Joel.
Hey, how's it going, Scott? Good to see everyone.
And then, of course, one of the members of the board also with Jana, Lupe. How are you, Lupe?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. The energy level is through the roof right now.
Exercise. Exercise, come on.
All right. So how this show works, if you haven't watched it, a very, very simple show, very simple concept. Basically, I just say, what you watching? We go around the table. One person will talk about something, give the plot, give their feelings about it. Then if anyone else has seen it, they'll chime in, give their opinions. And if no one else has seen it, we'll just move on to the next topic. Very simple, short and sweet. We're going to start off with Joel, who is going to do one of two movies. Well, actually, you're going to do what? A movie and a TV show, right? Joel?
I think they're both technically movies, and
okay.
I'm all in on Mrs. America too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got that confused there for a second. So, Joel, take it away with your first pick.
My first pick is a documentary called Good Trouble, the story of John Lewis, a representative from Atlanta who also marched with Martin Luther King in Selma and on the March on Washington. Is just a stunning look at an incredible human being. The documentary is just astounding. I've always just kind of revered John Lewis from afar, and this really made him accessible in a way that I was so moved by. And I think the thing that probably moved me the most is watching other people react to him. Like when he's walking through the airport in Washington or in Atlanta, and people just stop him and thank him for everything he's done. There's just some priceless moments in that. He talks about how he was raised. It goes back to his rural upbringings in the South, and how he used to preach to chickens and how he couldn't tell if they were listening, shaking their heads at him or not, but either way, it was good training for what he was going to be destined to do, which was to walk alongside Martin Luther King, be a pillar in the civil rights movement, and then a force of nature in Congress. He is just astoundingly portrayed in this motion picture. It bounces all over the place. You get a real full picture of him. I like how a big crux of it chronicles how he was a big part of the Take Back the House in 2018 that worked, that the Democrats got the House back, and how he campaigned for anybody and everybody, no matter how old he was going to make it a point to be there. It's just an astounding documentary. It's important, it's timely, and as he talks about, he's been arrested 44 times over his life, and he feels that he's not done yet. So he talks and extols the virtue of getting into trouble, good trouble, as the name of the movie is. So for all you people out there who are inspired by what's going on in our country, this is like a shot in the arm, because you'll want to get right back out there after watching John Lewis.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joel. I know I personally have not yet watched this film. I got about another week and a half before it comes out, so I'll definitely catch it before it comes out. But I know, Jana, you saw this. Lupe, did you see this as well?
Yes.
Would you like to chime in?
Sure. Well, like Joel was saying, it's just so relevant right now. And the fact that what really hits you is that when John Lewis was out there marching, he was marching not only for civil rights, but for voting rights.
Right.
They were being, African Americans were given the right to vote after the Civil War, but the society kept impeding them to do that. So that's why they were really marching, because they wanted to vote, to vote. And the fact that similar stuff is going on now where, GOP is trying to stop people from voting because they know they're strong in numbers. And so when you watch that and you watch this, it just really hits you really, really hard how things have not really changed. And also, I didn't know much. I know about the Freedom Riders, but the way he talked about it and the old footage, it really hit you like, wow, these people were out there doing something very, very good. And they were taking a class on how to ignore the beatings and the verbal attacks. And so John Lewis's group, they took a class with this, I think it was a reverend and a teacher, and they showed them tactics to the Freedom Riders. And they were whites, they were blacks. And to see that group there is kind of reminiscent of what we're seeing at the protest now, where you've seen, a diverse group doing that. So if you're interested in that, I thought it was also a great lesson in the Freedom Riders, a little background on that. And it was just, it was eye-opening. I was like really riveted by it.
All right. How about you, Jana?
Yeah, I loved it. I watched it to interview the director, Dawn Porter, and I was telling her how much affected me as well, and how much it was so relevant, because I watched it between the first weekend of the protest and going to the second week, and I was amazed. I was like, I watched the documentary with old footage, and now I'm seeing on TV pretty much similar stuff, and I think it was amazing, well done, and very, very relevant.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing this. I remember when I got the PR email, I'm like, oh, this sounds perfectly timely for right now. And I'm glad that everyone here, I mean, whenever I'm a part of one of these and I'm the only person that didn't see it, but everyone else gives it glowing reviews, I know that I have to put it on my must-see list. So thank you for sharing. Lupe, let's go with you for your first pick.
All right. Along those lines, let's talk about Mrs. America. So this is a show on Hulu. It was executive produced by Cate Blanchett. She stars as Phyllis Schlafly, and nobody on the show can pronounce her name correctly. So
that's okay.
It's fitting that I can't either. But this is a true story, another true story. And it's basically about the feminist movement in the 70s. So this is jam-packed with awesome actors, and I have to write it down because there's so many. As I mentioned, Cate Blanchett, Rose Byrne as Gloria Steinem, Uzo Aduba, oh my God, I love her. She was playing the first Black woman congressperson, Shirley Chisholm, and she actually ran to be president. And the film and the show covers that, why she wasn't successful. And you also have Elizabeth Banks as another congresswoman, Jill Ruckelshaus. And she was a Republican. So she was a Republican working with the Democrats in the feminist movement. And you have Margot Martindale, who's always, always good. If you know, she's from, what's that show on about the Russians? The Americans? The Americans.
The Americans, yeah.
Yeah. She was played a person named Bella Abzug, and I think she was a congresswoman as well, and leading the charge of the feminist movement. You got Melanie Linsky also playing a really great character, Sarah Paulson, Jean Triplehorn, and the lone guy, John Slattery. So it really gives you insight into the feminist movement. You know, I had heard about it, but I never delved deep into it. And every single actress, or actor, I should say, because they like to be called actor, and it's appropriate, are excellent. I mean, they're very awesome in telling this true story about how they were fighting to gain rights for women, abortion, and Phyllis was actually the person trying to stop it. And what's ironic is the fact that she's a conservative, and you can see a lot of this playing out today, where she's saying the role of the woman is at home. But ironically, she was college educated in foreign affairs, and she was very, very knowledgeable. But the fact that the men in Congress, she kept, approaching them like, "Hey, I'm an expert in this field. Maybe you should have me on your board." Blah blah blah. But they always kept holding her back. But the only way she can break out was to lead this conservative charge. And even though she tries to hide the fact that she wanted to be like Gloria Steinem, everyone adored Gloria Steinem, as we all know now. That's the only name that really pops out. when we talked about the feminist movement. But there were so many women in the movement. But the fact that she kind of asked for, so is Gloria there? You can see there's this kind of envy in her that she really, really wants to be at that end. But the only way she's going to make a name for herself is to be on the opposite end. So and you can see little pieces of the conservative movement starting here. This is when Ronald Reagan's about to take office. So we all know the history of the direction of the Republican Party at that point, where the conservative movement really came out for Reagan, and they started pushing a lot of the stuff that we hear about today. And just the acting is just, like I mentioned, is just wonderful. I wish all of these women can get nominated for something, because they were all really, really excellent. And it's a really good show in history, just to see how the feminist movement, unfortunately, was failed.
Yeah.
Even there was advances, but as far as Congress and as far as legislation,
yeah, it totally did.
It was, I mean, and the men, I mean, just, and they knew they were using Phyllis as a way, like, we can't do it, so let's use Phyllis to be the counter movement of the feminist movement. And, you know, she went along. I mean, it was her idea, but the more the show goes on, you see that she has envy for these women, sort of. But Cate Blanchett plays it so well. She's she's not likable, but you kind of root for her, because, you know, deep down, she wanted to be sort of this Gloria Steinem person. But the men in the administration always said, your place is, hey, they bring her into a meeting, for example, and she's excited. She's all prepared. She knows all about the subject, about foreign affairs. And they say, hey, dear, can you be our secretary and write the notes down? And the look on her face was like, oh, and it's just like a knife to your heart, that this woman, very capable of having a conversation with these men, is relegated to the secretary to take down the notes. So it's really, like I said, she's not a likable character, but there's those moments where you see her kept down, and it just really, really speaks to you, because a lot of the stuff still happens today. So, I mean, watch it. I stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning binge watching the show, and I think it's 10 episodes. Yeah. So, but it's well worth the watch. I mean, just in acting lessons alone, I mean, masterclass in acting.
Not 9 episodes, you said, Joel?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 9?
Okay. Jana, did you see this show?
I saw 3 episodes, and
yeah,
then I had
I've only
to stop to watch
too.
all the other stuff that I need to watch it. But it's like it's amazing. Like, the cast is amazing, the cinematography, like the photography, and the cost, like the clothes are beautiful. I think everything is really beautiful. I cannot say too much because I just watched 3 episodes, but I'm gonna finish.
I just want to say real quick for the show, like, I've only watched a couple episodes myself. I need to finish it. Just been so much stuff to watch. But I will say that when you know a really good show is when you have really notable actors and they all disappear into the roles. And I feel like that happens pretty much throughout, based on the episodes that I've seen, where these actors just kind of disappear and become their persona, this persona that they're portraying in the show. So I recommend it. I can't wait to watch the rest of it. Joel, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, it's honestly one of the best things I've seen on TV in the last several years. It is astonishing. I am really thrilled that they took the format of a limited series rather than trying to capture this entire decade-long movement in a motion picture. This was the perfect format for it. I agree with Lupe. I think everyone deserves an Emmy. I mean, they should just split the Emmys down, 9 ways for all the different stars that are in this thing. And what was most striking to me, the political scientist in me, is how much of the political strife we're experiencing right now, the seeds were laid back then. And it's really stunning how, the rallying behind the family and the family values and the hypocrisy of the GOP, it just kind of comes through this whole thing. And in the end, I think Phyllis was a feminist in a lot of ways, but she would have bristled at that accusation. And it is striking to see that she came this close to being the first cabinet member of a president, and she lost out because of her connection to the ERA, which eventually got killed. And that's what it always struck me as a kid, because my mom was very active in the ERA movement, and I never understood it, at how the ERA was derailed by women. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. And this 9-part series captures it impeccably.
And I wanted to add, you know how Obama gave us the Tea Party and these extremists? Well, I think the feminist movement caused the conservative movement to grab hold. And so it was kind of a reactionary thing. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to see it play out in the 70s, how what we saw happen in present day was happening. So it's like a movement sparks another movement in the bad direction, where it takes you, 10 steps back. So it's interesting to see how they worked that in. And it was also, conscious that they did it this way.
And I just want to add real quick, if I can, to the point that Joel made, and many of your points, Lupe. There is a movie coming out called The Glorias, which I saw at Sundance and I thought was not good, because they try to cover so much ground in one movie that there's certain periods where it just like lags on and on and on, and you're kind of like, okay, I got it. And then like you get to like 90 minutes of the movie and they're like, oh, we got to cover 30 years and we haven't touched the surface yet. And like they just push it through. And it just seems so rushed and messy. And I don't know if that movie's ever going to really come out, because I know it kind of had a mixed reaction at Sundance. And then I think there's something going on with one of the cast members that's a part of it, that there's another scandal or something with it. So I don't know if that movie's ever going to come out. But that was like one of my biggest disappointments at Sundance this year. And for mainly the reason that YouTube pointed out, it doesn't allow the story to simmer. It just tries to do too much, and it's just so feels rushed and just overstuffed in certain areas. It's very bizarre.
Well, the first mistake was the title, All the Glorias. Like they're
yeah.
That's the first mistake in the title. Is the title.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a scene where they're on the bus together, and you're like, so for you, Jana, what's your first pick? Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's go to Love, Victor.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the series that now it's Hulu. It's supposed to be opening in Disney Plus, but then sent to Hulu, right? And set is the same word of the Love, Simon movie from last year. If you love Simon, you're gonna like this one too, which I liked it. It's the same setting, but tells a story about Victor, this little guy that is showing right now on screen, and then he navigates to the ups and downs of moving to a new city, moving to a new school, and also exploring his sexual orientation. So it's a series, has 10 episodes. I think it was very good, well done. They have a very diverse cast, and also very important, the family is Latinx, and they have 3 kids. It's a couple, and they moved to a new city, and they have all this discomfort of the middle kid. She doesn't want to move because she has a boyfriend, and then he's struggle, and then Victor struggle with making friends, and then he's got a girlfriend, and all these little dramas, which is not a drama, but all these little situations that he needs to deal with. The cast is really good. Is Michael Cimino, Ana Ortiz, she's really good as a mom, and James Martinez, who plays the dad. And also we have Rachel Naomi Wilson, she's on This Is Us as well. And I think it's good. I really enjoy, and it's fun. It's still missing a little stuff here and there, because there is a moment that the Latin family, the mashes, because the grandparents come to visit, and then we also have that in Latin families. They're very difficult to accept some taboos situations, but I think that get a little lost towards the end of the season, but it's good. I liked it.
Okay. I have not seen this one yet, but I was a very big fan of Love, Simon, and I honestly, this just from the trailers, and again, this is what happens with us in the industry. Sometimes we see a trailer and we're kind of shadows our judgment a little bit. It looked like such a watered down version that I didn't have as much interest in seeing it, but the fact that it's actually gotten more positive reviews, it's something that I'm going to be adding to my list. Did any of you guys see this show?
I did, and I had the same reaction. I saw the trailer, I was like, and then I interviewed Anna Ortiz, so I figured, okay, I'll watch it. But I actually liked it. I got to the 4th episode. I was supposed to only watch one.
I watched
Michael Cimino. Michael Cimino is. Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Michael Cimino is a breakout star. He really nails it. He's got this sweet nature about him, and he has to because of the subject matter. Because he's trying to figure out his sexual orientation. So he's dating a girl, but he knows he likes a boy, and it's handled really, really well. And I think the family is handled really, really well. I've come to get used to Latino families, and sitcoms are horrible. Like the ABC, horrible, so one-dimensional. But this family is very layered. And they handle the biculturalness really, really well. And I asked Anna, because in the credits, I didn't see any Latino writer. I mean, you can't assume from surnames, but I asked her, she said, oh, yes, we have people, born here, raised here. It's like, okay, you can tell because it's handled really, really well. Because like Jana mentioned, in the Latino culture, it's still, the old generation versus the younger generation. You still have to keep things secret. And then the parents, they're not bad people. You come to understand it's the culture that kind of is ingrained in not accepting the gay, LGBT. So I think it's handled really well because you have to be very, very careful because it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just that they have to combat the way they were raised, that they're, they see it a certain way. So I liked it for that reason because it was handled really, really well. And I can see why Disney probably was scared to, to air it because they're probably not there yet.
Yes, exactly.
Or the audience is not there yet. So
yeah,
but it's not. I mean, it's not. I can see it on Disney Plus. There's nothing about it that it's not family friendly. I mean, for older kids with their parents, but
Yeah.
What were we going to say, Jana?
Okay, one of the writers, he told me that the creators are very careful with which writers to pick, and they want everybody represented, especially kids that were born and raised here, the Latinx. They're very, very careful with that, even with the situations, the music, the way that they talk, the slangs and everything. They're very careful with everything.
Yeah, not everybody's doing the salsa dance like you always see. You're like, really?
On ABC.
On ABC. Nobody does salsa dance in their house all the time. Come on.
That's right.
Give me a break.
Well, I look forward to watching that. Show. So 2 of them I got to finish up on here. My pick, I'll just give out one, which is also opening, I guess, on demand and in select theaters, whatever theater is going to be opening this weekend, which is like, you shouldn't go to a movie theater right now, people. I will not. I'll save you my spiel, but you should not be going to a movie theater right now. But the movie I do want to talk about is Jon Stewart's Irresistible, which stars this man right here, Steve Carell, and the lovely and always wonderfully talented and just a sweetheart Rose Byrne. And it's a fun movie about politics and about a campaign in a small Wisconsin town where a failed Democratic strategic worker decides that he wants to kind of lift up this right-wing guy who he can push as maybe a liberal or a Democrat. And when the Republican National Committee finds out about this, they are pissed and they send Faith, played by Rose Byrne, to pretty much make sure that he fails and he loses. I grew up watching, like a lot of us, watching Daily Show. And that's where, Jon Stewart pretty much made a name for himself. So seeing him return to comedy, return to political stuff, right up my alley, right up his alley. But I have to say that the trailer for this movie is a little bit misleading based on the end result of the film. And I don't want to spoil the end result of the film because it is a real great surprise. But the movie, I think, works best about halfway through to the very end, where like it really kind of finds its footing and it tries to stop being like a fish out of water comedy where it's like, oh, here's the guy from Washington, D.C. going to a small town in Wisconsin. It works best when it gets into the political side of things and showing how much corruption exists on both sides of the fence. And I just was a big fan of the film. And I recommend it a lot. And I would have to say that I'm happy to see Steve Carell back doing comedies. I know he's a great dramatic actor and he's done some great dramatic work. But seeing him, even though I think Space Force leaves a lot more to be desired, I think seeing him back doing those silly roles and then seeing him do something like this, which brings me back to his Daily Show days, it worked. I know. Did you guys get your links yet? No? Okay.
Yep.
Joel, what'd you think?
I guess the trailer was misleading for me because I expected it to have more teeth. And again, I don't want to give anything away, but judging by how Jon Stewart chose to wrap up his movie, I don't think that was ever his point. So the trailer was misleading for me, but in a different way. In that sense, I almost felt like the ending, the twist ending was a bit of a cop-out. But now that I've had time to marinate about it, I actually can see kind of what he was trying to do. But I hope that a lot of the people that are watching this broadcast of ours have not seen the trailer and will just experience the movie as it is fresh for you. And I think that's the best way to watch this movie. You won't be disappointed one way or another. I thought Steve Carell was great. Rose Byrne is always great. And it's just, it didn't feel like that kind of Washington, Hollywood goes to the Midwest thing that so often we can be guilty of. But that being said, I kind of wanted it to have more oomph. But now, I'm realizing that maybe that wasn't necessarily his point. And there's a larger discussion to be had about politics in America after watching Irresistible.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I like the movie, but also one of the things that market people need to realize is that when you sell someone a particular movie and you give them something else, you're going to see that. And I think we've seen that with the reaction from this movie, because I think, Joel, a lot of people had the same thoughts that you did when they went into it. And then you have like these it's like the weirdest, most polarizing viewpoints in this movie. Because I feel like there are several people, even within our organization, like Rama, myself, and Simon, who are like, this is really great. And then there's a couple other people like Scott Mendelson and Aaron who are like, it's not that great. And I almost wonder if it's because of the fact that the marketing misleads you to believe that you're going to see a different movie than what you ultimately end up getting.
100%.
Yeah.
So, and I hope you two, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. And I do want to say,
the trailer doesn't inspire me to watch.
No, of course not. Of course not.
So, I mean, if it was on streaming, maybe I would check it. Just like Space Force, I put it on as background, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, funny, okay, but nothing great. But yeah, I've not.
Yeah, and I think studios. I mean, we're not going to go into this conversation because this is for like a whole episode that we need to do on this. But I think studios really need to expand their reach on like getting people to see these movies, because I have to tell you, from like someone who runs a critics organization and like helps and wants to promote movies on a regular basis, the fact that I can post in a Facebook group and say, who has seen this movie? And like 20 people tell me they didn't see it. That is a failure on part of the studio. I'm sorry. It's a failure on part of the studio. Yeah, everyone should be seeing it. A movie's a movie. You don't know who's going to like this. You just don't. That's the great thing about movies.
Yeah.
I probably go Joel.
And judging by the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I always have a big issue with Rotten Tomatoes, they've picked the people to watch the movie.
Yeah, it's very true. So I don't understand why they did. I feel like they did the same thing with King of Staten Island to a degree. But like whatever. But I think they really need to work on that. But again, that's a topic for another day. All right, let's go to Lupe. What's your second pick?
Okay, I just started watching Bosch on Amazon, and oh my God, it's so good. My husband's client actually told him, hey, you should check this show out. So he came home, he put it on, and I'm like, eh. But it's actually really, really good. I thought it was about a corrupt cop played by Titus Welliver. But actually, he's not corrupt. He actually is trying to do things the correct way because the LAPD at this point has changed their ways and are trying to implement different tactics. So he's actually trying to follow protocol, although he cheats a couple of times here or there, but for the most part, he tries to stay on point. But they also shows the culture of police, especially the LAPD department. And it's I don't know why I'm gravitating towards these shows and movies that really are relevant at this time. And this show, it has 6 seasons. I started with the 6th season. Now I'm going back to I'm on season 2 now. I watched season 1. And it really, really delves deep into how ingrained this corruption is and the brutality. And you see the 2 sides of it, where Titus tries to do the right thing and then everybody else turns on him, which makes it difficult to do his job. So it's a really, really good series. The acting is phenomenal. Titus, Lance Reddick is actually he's a black chief. So he's the one that's trying to change the department to be a little more community-based. And Amy Aquino, she's a lieutenant. And there, with her character, we see her trying to move up, but also playing the games that you have to play in these types of environments where it's basically a boys' club. And so you see her struggle trying to be lieutenant. And she's actually, I like her character. She's not like the usual lieutenant or chief who are hard-nosed, like, what are you doing? So-and-so. She's actually kind of like a mothering type of person to these cops, to these detectives. And it's really nice to see that. So different. I mean, she's stern, but she has this mother quality over them. And I think Titus, for example, appreciates that. I mean, she can be tough when she needs to be tough. So I think that's a really good spin on a show that deals with cop corruption. I think is really, really different. It doesn't lean towards cliches, which I really enjoy. But yeah, it's a really good examination of police culture and what a big uphill battle it's going to take to really change that department. And yeah, it's a really good series. The acting is phenomenal. And the way he shoots, the way they shoot Los Angeles is very reminiscent of Michael Mann's Heat. So if you enjoyed Heat, just the way they shot it, the cinematography, it's very reminiscent of that. And I thought maybe Michael Mann was a producer on it. Nope, he's not on it. But just the music, the cinematography, the acting, the subject matter, it's just all really excellent. And just I think it portrays Los Angeles in a very different way. And the perps, they're not always underrepresented communities, minorities. They expand it, which is what I like. Like if you watch Chicago PD, I don't like that show because the suspects are always minorities. And it really, really bothers me that they don't show a variety of people being the bad guy or the criminal. So in this show, they purposely try to do things differently. And I think that's what I really like about the show. And just the way it's shot, the way they shoot LA is really, really beautiful. Especially if you're an Angelino, I recognize all the corners that they're at. So I'll tell my husband, hey, that's Hollywood and Vine. So they really use LA to the purpose of the show, which is to show like what it's like for these police people to try to work in an environment that they're given. So it's a really good show. I recommend it. And I'm late to the game, but I'm happy I'm watching it. But now it has a little more relevance as to see how police culture, it's really an uphill battle to fight against that. It's going to have to start from scratch, and who knows.
Speaking of which, I just want to give my quick second recommendation, and it's a very short one because it's not even like a series or anything. But I will recommend every single person watch that John Oliver special that talks about the police. Because you brought it up with this show. And I mean, you could not ask for a better explanation of what is wrong with the police system than watching that. And he does so in such a great way where like he incorporates humor, but also a ton of facts and real life examples. And I think it was like probably one of the best television specials that they've done since any of this has happened. I know like Oprah had one and things of that nature, but I think his really like nailed it and like was able to explain things so like anyone would be able to understand it. And he did so in a very entertaining way, but yet you come away from it feeling very enlightened and you're like, oh, so this is what this means and this is what we need to do and this is how long it's been a problem. Just thought it was a really brilliant episode of television and kudos to HBO for letting him do that and for having the balls to actually put it on YouTube without charging. You know, I thought that was great.
Yeah. I got to catch that one. I've been watching all his other ones, but I think I missed the police one.
Oh yeah. It's so great. It came out like, I think a week after the protests started. And I think within like one day of going on YouTube, it was like at 3 or 4 million views. It was like so quick.
Yeah, that guy is so smart and insightful.
Yeah, he really is. And then you know another quick thing is like that Dave Chappelle special. If you haven't watched that too, that's also friggin' brilliant.
But don't expect too much comedy.
No. That is the most anti Dave Chappelle special.
I call it the comedy, the rant special.
Right, pretty much. All right, so Jana, what's your next pick?
My next pick it's a series from Brazil called Girls from Ipanema, which is in Netflix. Last Friday they premiered the season 2. It's before was called Most Beautiful Thing. In Portuguese, it's called Coisa Mais Linda, which is mean most beautiful thing. And it's a show about the Rio de Janeiro in the 50s, and it's in the middle of the rise of the bossa nova, and this girl, the story follows the girl called Malu Caroni, who moves from São Paulo to Rio de Janeiro to open a restaurant with her husband. But when she gets to Rio, her husband just disappeared, run away with the money, and then she needs to raise money, raise everything, and open the restaurant, which becomes a bossa nova club afterwards. But then what I like the most about it, because it shows our society, the high society back in the 50s, talks about feminism, racism, and the way that the woman was all submissive to the man. And there is a scene there that she needs to get a mail signature to get money from the bank to open the restaurant. So I think touch in different topics that we have right now, and especially racist, and also the way that woman was getting to work, and the way that they treat them. They think they're like a secretary, an assistant. But what also I love it is the soundtrack, which is all bossa nova and jazz from Tom Jobim and João Gilberto, and also the photography. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Shows Rio de Janeiro in a way that I was like, oh my God, I just want to live there, like in that moment. I want to be there in that scene. It's beautiful. And most of the actors are the Brazilians, of course, and then famous over there. And what interesting, when I was reading a little bit more about it, the script was written in English and then they translated to Portuguese. So it's funny because one of the creators is Heather Ruth, and she's American. It's funny.
I have not seen this. Anyone else have seen this one? No.
Yeah, it's very short. The first season is seven episodes, and the second one is 6 episodes. And leaves you the last episodes of the first season and now the second season leaves you with a cliffhanger for the next season. So let's see.
All right, Joel, you're up.
First of all the places I've traveled for junkets, my absolute favorite was Rio. So I am all over that show. I'm so glad you brought it to my attention. I love everything about Rio, and I look forward to diving into that. My last pick is on Apple TV Plus. It's a documentary from Bryce Dallas Howard called DADS. It's a love letter to fatherhood. It's a love letter to how the institution of fatherhood has changed. And she's got who's who of Hollywood dads, including her own Ron Howard, Judd Apatow, Jimmy Fallon, Neil Patrick Harris, Ken Jeong, Jimmy Kimmel, Conan O'Brien, Patton Oswalt, Will Smith, Kenan Thompson. But he has all these famous folks, or she has all these famous folks, but she intercuts it with real dads that she found. One lives in Rio, ironically. One is in San Diego. And they're all over the world, and they're all facing different challenges to being a dad, and they all share one thing in common, that they all want to be stay-at-home dads, and how revolutionary this is, and what that means to the institution of childhood, and how raising kids with the dad home all the time has changed things a little bit. And as a filmmaker, I mean, she's got that Howard gene. It's just she's a gifted storyteller. The way she weaves the famous folks in, the image right here is the guy from Rio, Brazil, who's a stay-at-home dad. And it makes you just cherish the father that you had, or maybe didn't have, that is out there now. The dads are stepping up better than ever before. And it is just such a remarkable, 140-minute journey through fatherhood circa 2020. That you could ever ask for. And, I called my dad as soon as the thing was over. I woke my daughter up and hugged her as soon as it was over, because it made me want to be a better dad. And I already think I'm a pretty awesome dad, but I mean, I still got legions to go to kind of aspire to be better every single day. And this documentary really did that. And Dads is divine, just divine. I loved it.
Great. Thank you, Joel. Lupe, did you get to see this one?
No, not really.
Okay. I know Jana did, and I know
Yeah.
Jana was a big fan, and I saw it as well.
Yeah.
You
what'd you think,
weren't,
Jana?
Jana.
I loved it. I cry a lot, and I'm lucky enough to have a wonderful dad, and I was lucky enough to pick a wonderful dad for my kid, for my son. So, and then I cry, I got emotional. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. And I think it changes so much the way that we look at dads nowadays. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I think everybody needs to watch it, and everybody's gonna cry. And
Bring tissues.
Yeah, I agree with Joel. Bryce has the genes, like, right there. She got everything, the good part of him, and she's doing it. And I think she's gonna do better and better and better every time.
It's live
Lupe.
now, right?
Yeah. Lupe, I got to tell you got to add this one to your list for before. Dads, you have to add.
Dads, yeah. I was meaning to, but the time they offered it to me, I was like, oh, I have so many movies to watch.
Yeah, you have to add it. I think it's such a sweet film. It's interesting because I saw this at Toronto, and Ashley lost her dad as she's told many of us already. So it's always hard when she watches movies that are very, very much, or TV shows like Zoe's Infinite Playlist, where it's about dads, just really connects with her. And like, I actually did not have a good connection with my dad. So it's a harder sell for me, but I can always kind of like, you can tell when something really works when you start getting emotional, even though there's that disconnect. And I think Bryce Dallas Howard did such a great job with this movie, because she was able to get such an eclectic group of, I don't know, characters. I mean, every one of the dads was their own character. And I love that she just went around and she didn't just include celebrities, but she searched the world and got all these different dads together. And she's going to be she's going to just be like Ron, like we've been saying. Like she's going to go over. She's going to do some acting. She's going to do some directing, and I think she's actually directing her first film now. And I can't wait to see what she does next. But this was just a heartwarming, lovely movie. It's not life changing, but it's great.
See, again, the trailer didn't sell it for me. And then now that hearing it from you guys, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I will check it out because it wasn't that emotional connection wasn't there in the trailer.
Yeah, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Go ahead, Joel.
No, I was just going to say her episode of The Mandalorian was just extraordinary. I mean, this is a storyteller of the future that we really need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's great. All right, so that's our show for today. Real quick, everyone go around. We'll start with Joel, and then we'll go to Lupe, and then Jana, and then I'll close out. Let's start just saying like your name, outlet, where people can find you.
Joel D. Amos. I'm at Twitter at the address there below. I am themoviemensch.com, where you can find me there, and also under my name on Facebook.
All right, awesome. And Lupe?
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Cinemovie, and also I have an account at NerdHag. On Instagram, you can find me as Cinemovie TV, and then Facebook, Cinemovie TV as well.
All right, awesome. And Jana?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Jana on Camera. And also my blog is janaoncarma.com. And I also write for Gazeta Brazilian News in Portuguese for the Brazilian community here in the US.
Okay, awesome. And I am Scott Menzel. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the other Scott M. I want to just say thank you, of course, to everyone for joining me today on the show. But I have one question to end this show with, and that is because we're moving into voting this weekend for our mid-season awards. And I know this is just going to throw everyone off because I'm going to ask you to do something.
Put us on the spot.
Right on the spot. Right now, what is your favorite movie of the year that you're going to put in your best picture pick?
Oh, man.
I don't think there's been a favorite movie yet. I can say favorite performance.
Joel, do you have one? He's silent.
Well, The Invisible Man is up there, but like I also wonder if any other year that would be an also ran. I mean, I thought it was powerful. I thought it made an incredible statement. But I need to look over the list to have a more full.
All right. I know I put everyone on the spot. Jana, you have a pick?
Actually, The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That movie didn't connect with me as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, I like The Invisible Man. I like the Five Bloods. I like King of State Island. I like so much. I like. I need to make up my mind.
No, it's okay. I would say mine is Bad Education.
I didn't watch that one yet.
I didn't finish watching it. I got bored.
Hugh Jackman, give the guy an Oscar.
Yeah, that you didn't like it, Lupe?
It's on HBO.
I was like, I think an hour into it, and I was like, It was like a Saturday night, and he was like, let's watch something else. I'm like, all right.
Interesting. Jana, you definitely have to watch it.
Yeah, it's on my list. I'm getting there.
I know this is why I think it's so important to have critic shows. It's like literally Lupe is like,
But the performances were really, really, really good. But I just think the momentum, it took a while for the momentum.
Interesting.
So cause it was a little confusing because they go right into it. And they're like, how does Hugh Jackman's character, there seems like something's going on there. Like he's got some knowledge that he's not, so.
I also like Shirley, which Elizabeth Moss have a great performance.
That's my favorite performance so far.
Yeah, you see, so.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. There's so much.
All right.
So much
to be continued on Monday. All right. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining me. Have a good evening, and I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.
See you later. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.